Imagine being the most powerful man on earth. You command armies. You rule millions. Entire nations bow to your name. And then one day, you become a footstool. Literally, a living, breathing human footstool for your enemy to step on every single morning for the rest of your life. This is not a myth. This is not a legend. This actually happened to a Roman emperor. And somehow, history almost completely forgot about it. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the capture of Emperor Valerian was one of the most humiliating moments in the entire history of Western civilization, and why Rome tried so hard to bury it. Let's go back. It's the year 260 AD. The Roman Empire is in serious trouble. We're deep in what historians call the crisis of the 3rd century, a brutal 50-year stretch where Rome is hemorrhaging power. Emperors are rising and falling like seasons. Plague is tearing through the population. Barbarian tribes are pressing in from the north. And from the east, a newly energized Persian empire, the Sassanids, is pushing hard against Rome's borders. Rome needs a strong emperor. What it gets is Valerian. Now Valerian wasn't a nobody. He was in his 60s when he took power in 253 AD, which was practically ancient for a Roman emperor. He was experienced. He was politically connected. He had served in the military for decades. But the empire he inherited was already cracking at the seams, and Valerian spent most of his reign just trying to hold it together. He split the empire with his son Gallienus. Valerian took the east, Gallienus handled the west. And in the east, one enemy kept growing more dangerous. King Shapur, the first of Persia. This man was not playing around. Shapur had already humiliated Rome twice before Valerian even got involved. He'd sacked Antioch, one of Rome's most important eastern cities. He was ambitious, brilliant, and hungry for a moment that would define his reign forever. And Valerian was about to give it to him. In 260 AD, Valerian marched his army into the region of modern-day Turkey and Syria to deal with the Persian threat directly. But his army was already weakened. Plague had been ripping through the Roman ranks for months. His troops were exhausted, undersupplied, and stretched thin. What happened next is where the historical accounts get murky, and that murkiness is actually part of the story. Some ancient sources say Valerian's army was crushed in open battle near the city of Edessa. Others say there was a negotiation, that Valerian rode out personally to discuss terms with Shapur and was simply seized, captured in cold blood during what was supposed to be a diplomatic meeting. We don't know exactly which version is true, but we know the result. The Roman emperor, the living embodiment of Roman power, the man who claimed divine authority, the commander of the greatest military machine the ancient world had ever seen, was taken prisoner by a Persian king. And this was not a private humiliation. Shapur made absolutely sure of that. He paraded Valerian through Persian cities. He had artists carve enormous rock reliefs, some of which still exist today in southern Iran, showing Shapur on horseback with Valerian kneeling, begging, or being gripped by the wrist like a prize. These weren't just art, they were propaganda. They were Shapur screaming to the ancient world, "Look what I did to Rome." But the footstool. Let's talk about the footstool. Ancient sources, particularly later Christian writers like Lactantius, who had reasons to be dramatic, describe Valerian being kept alive as a personal servant to Shapur. And the specific detail that survived across multiple accounts is this. Every morning, when Shapur mounted his horse, he would place his foot on the back of the Roman emperor to hoist himself up. A human mounting block, a living symbol of Persian dominance over Rome. Now, historians debate how literally we should take this. Lactantius was, writing decades later, and had theological axes to grind. Some scholars believe the footstool story is exaggerated or symbolic. But here's the thing. Even the toned-down version is extraordinary, because every credible source agrees on the core fact. Valerian was never ransomed. He was never exchanged. He never returned to Rome. He died in Persian captivity. Think about what that means. Rome, the empire that prided itself on strength above all else, could not or would not retrieve its own emperor. And that silence from Rome is almost louder than the capture itself. His son Gallienus, back in the West, barely reacted publicly. No massive rescue mission was launched. No ransom was negotiated. It's as if Rome simply moved on, because acknowledging the emperor's capture meant acknowledging Rome's weakness. And Rome could not afford to do that. Instead, they minted coins featuring only Gallienus. They rewrote the narrative. They let Valerian fade. And for centuries, this story was treated more as an embarrassing footnote than the seismic event it actually was. But the Persians never forgot. Shapur had that victory carved into rock faces that were meant to last forever. And they did last. You can visit them today in Shiraz, Iran. The carvings at Naqsh-e Rostam, Hom Knitting, Persia triumphant. Stone doesn't forget even when historians try to. So why does this matter to us right now today? Because the story of Valerian is a story about what happens when a superpower refuses to admit its own vulnerability. Rome didn't just lose an emperor. Rome lost the plot. That crisis of the 3rd century didn't end with Valerian's capture. It accelerated. The empire fractured into 3 separate pieces within years. The myth of Roman invincibility had a crack in it now, and everyone could see it. Power is often more fragile than the powerful want you to believe. And the moment you start hiding your failures instead of reckoning with them, that's when the real collapse begins. Valerian died in Persia. Some accounts say Shapur had his skin stuffed with straw after his death and displayed in a Persian temple. Another detail we can't fully verify, but one that tells you everything about how Shapur wanted Rome to be remembered in that chapter. Not as an empire, as a trophy. If you found this story as haunting as I did, there's a lot more where that came from. History is full of moments like this one. Moments that were buried, rewritten, or simply inconvenient. Subscribe if you want to keep digging. New story every week.